Previously on Woodbrew.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Woodbrew video. If you missed last week's video, we actually applied this two-part epoxy coating to the bottom of our camper in preparation for applying bed liner, which is what I'm doing right now. Bed liner is what we chose to apply to the bottom of the camper, and it's also going to be the outside of the camper because it's extremely durable, waterproof, and very UV stable. Now, we chose to brush this bed liner on because I've been wanting to try out brushing versus rolling, and this was a good spot to try it out on because if it didn't turn out super well, no one would ever really see it. But it actually brushed on extremely well, and so if you don't really want to deal with spraying, then you can definitely go the brushing route. You actually get a bit of a smoother finish, and I really do like the way it looked after we got done brushing it on, or rolling it on, brushing and rolling. And I also went ahead and applied some bed liner to the front tongue box, which is going to make it a lot more durable because we've had one of these in the past and they almost instantly fade in the sun. So this is a good simple upgrade while we have some leftover material. Now, we've had a lot of questions about what trailer we chose to use for this project, and this is a 4x8 trailer from Harbor Freight, and it comes with a lot of issues, primarily being the tires and axles. They're not really rated for a lot of highway use. In fact, the tires are only rated for like 45 miles an hour, which is pretty laughable. And because the trailer is meant to fold up, it's also pretty darn weak. And as you'll see as we're taking off the entire undercarriage of this thing, yeah, it's extremely floppy. It is not a very rigid trailer unless everything is bolted in real tight and everything's just perfect. So we're going to be solving that in today's video by welding up all of the seams, adding in a lot of support bracing, and several other things to help make this trailer just a lot more rigid and rugged for the future. Now, why did we not just start with a better trailer or just build one in general from scratch? I know that's going to be a question that we have asked, and the real reason is because when we started this project, we had, less ambitious goals for this project, and obviously as it progressed, we decided that we wanted to future-proof this trailer a bit more, and that's the reason why we're kind of, rebuilding from the ground up something that, probably could have just built better if we had just started from scratch. However, we're whipping out the welder, we're going to get these seams welded up, and by the end of this video, this trailer is going to be extremely rigid. That's a good weld. That ain't too shabby for not have been welding in I don't know how long. Wow, that's pretty good. I mean, hot dog, you'd think I was a welder. This gas makes all the difference. We've never used a welder with gas before. I know that sounds crazy, but when we last welded, it was probably for the workbench build.
Honestly.
Not long ago. And we didn't have money to be buying no $400 worth of welding gas. That was a bit too rich for us back then. So.
You look like a welder with the Woodbrew thing and everything.
I feel like I probably look like a poser. If you're a welder, do I look like a poser? What is the welding etiquette so I don't look like a poser? Do I need to not be in, does this make me look like a poser? I'm not sure.
Surely
I feel like I need to be in a ripped off tank top shirt.
And a do-rag.
Yeah, because I just look like I'm too protected, I'm too protected. I mean, it could be total trash. I don't really know, but
It looks good.
It looks pretty good to me. It looks like it's got good penetration. It's laying pretty flat. It's not too bulgy. Like the first one I did didn't have enough juice in her. So now I think I got it dialed in. It's laying flat. Seems to be no porosity or anything like that. I'm gonna use some big words here. If you peek under there, she's burning through. We getting some good penetration, I'll tell you that. Yeah, we good. She welded. Now, our other trailer actually was the flattest, largest surface we had, so we ended up just clamping this down to the trailer and making sure it was square before we welded all the seams up, obviously, and we used that 2x2 square tubing to keep things flat across the center. We're also using that as sort of an extended tongue that goes all the way back halfway through the frame, which is just going to add a ton of rigidity to both the tongue and the trailer. But as you'll see, this is where I started having some issues with the welder due to some feeding errors. It was completely my fault. I ended up figuring it out later in the day, but this was a very frustrating part. I was just trying to figure out how to get the welder to work, and it was just sometimes would work, sometimes wouldn't, you know how it goes. However, it ended up being able to jerry rig it a little bit and it got working better. But the next day I really started dialing in this welder and started getting some much better results with the welder in general. So you'll see that the welds actually get a little better as the video progresses on. Next on the list was adding in some larger leaf springs as well as a 3,500 pound axle, which is going to greatly improve the ride quality of this trailer as well as give it a bit more stance, because we were definitely lacking some ground clearance and tire clearance on the side wall of the tire, interfering with the actual trailer frame. So this is going to be a massive upgrade. Well, that's just 24 inches. So we're 45, well, that's a 54 and a quarter, the center of the wheel well. We ended up ordering this kit from a DIY website that allows you to be able to sort of convert these Harbor Freight trailers into, you know, something with bigger leaf springs. However, after receiving it, it's literally a piece of angle iron with some spring hangers welded onto it and no holes drilled. So to be honest with you, if you were already going to be able to weld the trailer, you could definitely make one of these and save yourself a lot of money. However, I will leave a link in the description below to this, because if you don't have a welder, this is an awesome option to improve the quality of this trailer by simply having to drill a few holes. So there'll be a link in the description below and you'll be able to find this little kit, which, like I said, it just is a huge improvement for this trailer if you end up using it for any of your projects. This longer piece of angle iron also adds a lot of rigidity to the trailer because that center section basically just bolts together, and it's real flimsy, let's just say that, without any sort of hanger or anything on the side of the trailer. It basically will just break off. So you definitely need something to connect it to, and having this longer piece of angle iron definitely helps a lot. So I drilled some holes in the top of it. I'm grinding some spots here for basically to be able to weld to. So I'm basically just filling in those holes that I drilled. I'm not actually bolting it to the trailer. I'm just welding through the hole and welding it that way, because this angle iron is actually wider than the frame material, so there's no real good way for me to weld it on that top side, only on the side of the trailer. So by drilling these holes, it just gave me a place to simply attach it to both the side and the bottom. Now, it was getting late in the day and we really wanted to see this axle on. However, when we started putting it on, we realized that the spring mounts, which are welded to the axle, were in the wrong location. Now, I don't know if this kit actually changed the location of the spring mounts a little bit because it was potentially a little bit wider, or if these just came incorrect on this axle, because I ordered them the same as the stock. However, regardless of what the issue was, I ended up having to cut them off and then re-weld them back on, which was a chore. Let me just tell you, this was much more difficult than it looks in these few little clips, but we were able to get it sort of one piece tacked on, then set the other one in place to make sure that it was nice and parallel across there, and then tacked the other one on. Then we were able to pull the whole axle back off and weld it all back up. Definitely not ideal. I probably should have waited to order the axle, but you know, this is a pretty simple fix. And yeah, just like that, we were back in business and we could put the axle back on and see what this trailer looks like for the first time. Hire me, NASCAR. daggum lift kit now. We going places. Good Lord, it's gonna be taller than his truck.
Does look good though.
Damn. Now the next day I started prepping for bed lining the actual trailer frame, and as you can see, Luna is a little too comfortable around loud things. We've had her whole life and she's always been around loud tools, but she literally is walking up to an angle grinder. It's getting a little out of hand at this point. But I went around and basically grinded all of the welds and all of the exposed metal parts, and then we also used a Scotch-Brite pad on all of the pre-painted parts to scuff everything up, and then it was time to actually clean everything. So it's very important that it's both abraded and super clean. So I'm going around with some acetone and other types of degreasers and things just to go around and clean as well as we could, and that really wasn't working that well. So eventually I ended up just whipping out the pressure washer and went to town that way. Not as ideal because the metal can start oxidizing afterwards, but I was able to put the spray foam cannon on and get this thing really well degreased, and then we just simply, as soon as we washed everything off, we just made sure that we went around and dried things as quickly as possible so that the exposed metal wouldn't start oxidizing too quickly and start forming rust right away. The next step was applying a primer to all of the exposed metal. So we went with a rust reformer primer because we already had it on hand, and well, some of the parts I guess were a little rusty, so it definitely can't hurt. This product converts rust into basically a paintable surface. Our materials were in really good condition. We didn't have to use that product, but again, we already had it. And once all of that was completely dry, then it was time to start spraying on the bed liner. And this time I did use the actual spray gun that comes with the kit, and this was so much easier than I expected. I thought this was going to be terrible, and that's why I initially wanted to try brushing and rolling it on, but the sprayer worked so well. We don't even have that big of an air compressor, and it had no problem keeping up. So if you end up wanting to bedline something, highly recommend picking up one of these DIY kits. They work so well. I'll leave a link to the one that we specifically used. It was very affordable. It comes in a bunch of different colors and just so easy to apply. The thing is with it is you do want to make sure that you get every surface at least twice. Now the good thing is that it only takes about an hour to dry, and then you can apply a second coat immediately. So we did the bottom, flipped it over an hour later, and then I did the top section, and then we came back and did a final second coat anywhere, or actually I guess that would be nearly a third coat. Some areas got 2, some areas got 3 coats, and yeah, it worked out really good. I was just super happy with the results. And the last sort of step that requires any sort of drilling or anything was adding on the hitch coupler, which was as easy as marking 2 holes and drilling for it and then just simply bolting it on. Now, a very unfortunate thing happened when we were bed lining this tongue box. We ended up adding a few extra coats with some leftover product, but it flipped over in the wind and got dirt embedded in it. Not ideal, we'll fix that later, but in the meantime, enjoy this final transformation. Well guys, I would say that that is a massive improvement over the stock trailer. Obviously, I know a lot of people are going to comment that we probably should have just started from scratch, and you're probably right. However, when we started this project, we didn't have all of these intentions, and it just sort of progressed along the way. And also, one of the things that was really nice about going with this trailer is that it was already had a VIN applied and it was already registered and all those sorts of things. So it makes that whole process a lot simpler than going through the home built process, which in our state can take quite a while to get approved, unfortunately. So yeah, this was a very easy route to upgrade this trailer and make it into something that's going to last a really long time. Now into the future, to give you a little hint, a little teaser into Molly and I's world, in the background we've actually been doing some research into how we can actually generate our own VIN codes for trailers. So on the next build that Molly and I do, which is going to be a trailer for us, we're actually going to build one from scratch, and we're actually going to be able to VIN it ourselves as trailer manufacturers. So that's kind of a crazy update that Molly and I are now officially trailer manufacturers, registered.
So this camper escalated
quite
quickly.
This whole thing escalated quite quickly. So the next one is going to be a custom built trailer. So if you have any recommendations as far as that goes, leave a comment down below so that in the next build we can implement those things. But this turned out really, really well. The bed liner was a great choice to go with because this thing looks rugged and obviously is going to be extremely durable. There are a few little details that I need to finalize, like the safety chain and things that didn't quite end up working out the way I wanted them to, so might have to change a few things, but ultimately this thing is set up and ready for a long life on the road. So now we're just in the next video we'll actually be putting the camper back on this and finishing up the rest of the camper. But it feels really good to have this part of the project knocked out. So thank you guys so much for watching and sticking around with us. And if you will, again, leave a comment down below any recommendations you have for future trailer builds, because I'm doing all the research right now and I'd love any suggestions. With that out of the way, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.